Hey there, welcome back to Total Geek Live Baltimore Presents. I am Baltimore, and today I am bringing you Atlantis Attacks. This is a 1989 storyline that ran throughout the annuals of most of the Marvel comics that were published by then. It's 14 issues, so of annuals, so they're kind of double sized or larger sized, all of them. And this is kind of a more beloved of the annual crossovers because it did touch on 14 different titles, so there's a lot of stuff happening. And this was one of the first annual storylines that actually was completely serialized. Evolutionary War, which came up a year before, wasn't quite serialized. It was all just kind of having the High Evolutionary involved in each story. This one was sequential, like part one, part two. You really could follow the story. And so that was kind of cool. So it starts in Silver Surfer Annual 2, then it goes to Iron Man Annual 10, then to Marvel Comics Presents number 26, kind of like an interlude issue. Then you go X-Men Annual 3, then you go Amazing Spider-Man Annual 23, then you go to Punisher Annual 2, Spectacular Spider-Man Annual 9, then you get Daredevil Annual 5. It was actually misprinted as number 4, which was a mistake. Then you have Avengers Annual 18. Then you get New Mutants number 76, which is the first appearance of the sorry, it's the first appearance of the monster summoning horn that Namor uses. Toot toot. Then you actually have the New Mutants Annual 5. Then you have X Factor Annual 4. Web of Spider-Man Annual 5, Avengers West Coast Annual 6, then you have, plus the it was Avengers regular issue number 56, then we get the Avengers West Coast Annual 4, then you get the Thor Annual 14, and it includes in Fantastic Four Annual 22. Yeah, so quite a long storyline for this to take effect. But it was kind of fun, to see all of these. They've collected in a big omnibus, which was, kind of a huge get, including all these issues. What was also really cool is that they included 14-part backup into each of these annuals, and they were all about the Serpent Crown saga. And so Atlantis Attacks, it's a little misleading because it wasn't really Atlantis attacking the surface world. While that did happen, that wasn't the real kind of crux of the situation. The Atlanteans weren't the bad guys in this. Neither was Namor, who was presumed dead for a while of this. But the actual villains of this were the Lemurians, and it was their leader Lyria, and Gar, who was trying to resurrect the Serpent Crown Set back on Earth. And basically they were returning the seven-headed serpent god Set, and Atlantis, was ruled at this point by a Tuma. And so Lyra was kind of liaisoning with Tuma, trying to get him to attack the surface world, which he did. So that was kind of, where things kind of went wrong, and why people kind of, obviously the title being its Atlantis Attacks. And, the plot for it was, bring a new Serpent Crown by getting all these mystical artifacts and putting them together to create the new Serpent Crown. Set would be reborn from his exile. And basically that was what Gar was actually setting out to do. And he allied with Atuma in order to attack the surface world, like I said before. And that was, the big, oh, this is happening. But you miss all of Namor being involved in this because he was presumed dead at this point. We couldn't find him. He was nowhere to be found. He doesn't show up until like the last third of the issues. So he was wanting to by attacking the surface world, it actually left Atlantis vulnerable. So the Lemurians were actually trying to, siege Atlantis. And so there's all this underwater battles happening that was much more important than the surface battle that was happening. And he also wanted to transform humans into serpent-like creatures. Always kind of a sure, okay moment. Gar's kind of like this weird uh, character to begin with. And if he's so obsessed with Set, and Set is a serpent creature, then yeah, it makes sense he would want to turn all the people in the world to serpent creatures as well. So he was using a combination of a poison by Viper, along with the chemical compound that he got from Tyrannus. So that was kind of another little plot point that brings things further, kind of the story. Then you have the Seven Brides of Set. So these were seven women, Marvel characters who were captured in order to, be brides to Set. So that's Andromeda, that's Jean Grey, that's Dagger, that's Wanda, Scarlet Witch. You've got She-Hulk, you got Invisible Woman, and you have Storm. So all of them are basically the brides of Set, and they were captured specifically for this reason, to be taken for him, and to be allowed to um, marry him and produce, the offspring that would, continue to rule the world. Of course, this doesn't set well with any of the heroes and heroines of the Marvel Universe, so of course they are in high gear trying to avert this from happening. Um, they want to use Dagger as a magnifying glass, using her light powers as a magnifying glass to absorb all the energy to actually channel it into the Serpent Crown to reinvent him, recreate him, reincarnate him, free him from his exile, and into this new Serpent Crown, so that the Set could be freed. And so that was, that big moment, the big thing that they were trying to do. So the heroes are, dead set to trying to avert that and to stop that. But all the way, in the end, Namor is returned. He tries to stop them. He unites the heroes of the surface world to fight Gar, fight against Set and Lyra, and basically prevent them from bringing Set to Earth, and basically stopping the invasion, stopping the incursion of the Lemurians from Atlantis, and then stop Set being reborn into the Marvel Universe. So 14 issues is kind of a lot when you think about these are all kind of oversized issues, but it does make for a huge summer reading. All these came out, basically in the summertime of 1989. So you have all of these epic kind of stories, and each one ended with a cliffhanger. So you're really wanting to find out what happens next. Getting the next annual, and those were pricey little ones back then as well. But you did get a lot of content with them, which was really, really great to have. But I thought that it was interesting that they were able to kind of grapple this entire story together, and bring it to the forefront. It was kind of one of the last really big, I mean, this was a huge undertaking. And they subsequently didn't do as many. I think they did like 5 or 6 crossover annual series after that, maximum. Mostly it was like 3 or 4 parts, which carried on into different annuals, which I do appreciate, that they kind of combined characters in their annuals that didn't often kind of relate to each other. So you get like a random Punisher and Avengers, and a Deathlock, and some like random characters mixed in together, telling a complete storyline. So that was kind of fun to kind of get those together. But like the big mama of all the annual crossover events is Atlantis Attacks, and it's ginormous. It's a little unwieldy, but the art was fun. It was good. It's the story. They did a great job of combining all the annuals into kind of one cohesive voice. Each characters that kind of played through to each of them through the next issue and the next issue and the next were all kind of similar enough to kind of get through the process of the story. I haven't read this in a while. I think I'm going to give it another shot to kind of just go through all the issues, because it is kind of a gargantuan read. But there's a new, sequel to Atlantis Attacks coming out. So you definitely should, go back and read the original before the new one comes out, and kind of get to see how it all happens the first time, to see if there's any, follow-up things that happen in the new one. But let me know what you think about the original Atlantis Attacks, the 1989 Annuals crossover. What was your favorite part? Let me know in the bottom comment. Like, subscribe, and share. And as always, I'm back with more Marvel goodness, and it's all to us.